The Branding Your Business podcast is for small business owners looking to build a customer favorite brand and a value-driven business. From solo shows covering marketing tactics to experts sharing their brand stories, each episode delivers actionable insights for entrepreneurs who want to impact the world. We're sharing how strategic moves and authentic connections can build a profitable business minus the burnout. Tune into the Branding Your Business podcast with me, Praise Santos McKenna of Aplomb, to design a brand your audience adores while building a life you love. We're back with the Branding Your Business podcast, and today I am so excited because we have a guest here who shares my branding studio's love for all things fruits and vegetables, but it was more accidental because we have Jason Lorber, who helps leaders empower their teams. He is the founder and president of Aplomb Consulting LLC, which are they cousins to Come Plum? Maybe. We'll figure out. We'll discover that a little more. So Jason applies his MBA from Stanford. Shout out to California. His experiences as a former Vermont state legislator, which we'll get into a lot more, and his skills as a stand-up comedian. He opened for Joan Rivers, people, to his role of facilitating change. Welcome to the podcast, Jason. So excited for you to be here. I love your bio, love hearing about what you do, but you are more dynamic than these two sentences. Would you like to add a little bit more color, share with our audience of mostly small business owners a little bit about you and what you do with Aplomb, and also just what you do in your personal life too?
I'm thrilled to be here. You covered the highlights. I don't know what else to say. I've also got a husband. We have a son who just graduated from high school. And when I'm not working, I'm playing tennis, or I'm dancing Zumba, or going on bike rides or outdoors. I love the outdoors. Living in Vermont, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous place to be.
I love reading about you and learning more about you and just how you wanted to serve your community by becoming a state legislator. And then eventually you came back to your business. And I remember reading that you came back because you really loved it. And I know that a lot of our folks start their businesses because they love it. And it sounds like it was this relationship that you had. You're like, let me put her at the back burner for a little bit, but you came back to it. Can you tell us about your decision about going into public service and then eventually coming back to the private sector?
Absolutely. So I've always wanted to serve the public and to be in public office. And I was always dreaming mine. I grew up in California. I grew up in Southern California. Then I lived in the Bay Area for 15 years or so. And I was involved in the political scene. And I just thought it was so disgusting. Just all of like the backdoor tricks and there's a lot of politics in politics. I know most people don't know that, but that's the inside scoop. And so when we moved to Vermont, I realized I could run for office here. It's not. I remember my first campaign. I had raised $8,000 to be in the Vermont House of Representatives. And when I got elected, when I was running, someone said, now, Jason, the way you win is you have to knock on everyone's door in your district. And I said, okay, how many doors are there? And they're like, there's about 4,000. Like, 4,000? Okay, I could do that. And they said, yeah, but you have to knock on everyone's door. I'm like, yeah, I heard you the first time. And so I did. And then I got elected. And then people said, so what did you spend on your campaign? And I said, $8,000. And this was in 2004. And people said, so not that long ago. And people said, what, you're trying to buy your way in? I'm like, what? I mean, living in the Bay Area, if you wanted to run for BART board, you'd have to spend $30,000. And BART board was not a personal passion of mine, but being able to work in state politics and to have an impact on legislation. And we know that Vermont often, we're a tiny little state, 620,000 people. But sometimes we can set in motion some of the national dialogue like marriage equality. That came from Vermont. We were the first state to legislatively, by politicians, not by judges, but for us to be on the line and say, we're going to have marriage equality. And we did it, and I got to be a part of that, which was truly amazing.
That's huge. First, let's backtrack a bit. I love that someone gave you a piece of advice, and it seems like they kind of wanted to scare you a little bit. Like, okay, knock on 4,000 doors. And you said, okay. And they're like, wait, so you're going to do it? And you did it, which let's like come back to that. What did your schedule look like? Are you knocking on 100 doors a day? How big was your team? How did you do this?
So no, my team was me. Actually, I did have some volunteers from University of Vermont, and they helped somewhat, but most of it had to come from me knocking on doors, and I would probably spend about 2 hours every day, and then like 5 or 6 hours on the weekends, for each weekend day. And so this was the hard part. So being a stand-up comedian, I would knock on their door and I would say, hi, my name's Jason Lorber, and I'm a stand-up comedian, and I'm running for the Vermont House of Representatives. And people would just laugh hysterically, and I didn't know which part they were laughing at. And then they would often slam the door in my face, because people don't want to talk to politicians. But I won. I got their votes, and they did ask me. They said, "So why are you running?" And I said, I just told the honest truth, which was that I was running to be in office because I wanted to spend less time with my family. Actually, I talked about healthcare as a human right and wanting to pursue that agenda. So it was a great experience. Great experience. I'm so thrilled. I got to serve for 8 years, so 4 terms. I was reelected each time, and then I just decided I want to go back into business.
Yeah. I mean, 8 years is, you're serving 2 presidential terms at that rate, like incredible, amazing.
And it's the same pay too, which is really fantastic.
Oh my gosh, you're just like, okay, my $8,000. Look at my ROI. Incredible, incredible.
Well,
I don't get to spend time with my family, and I have this ballin' job. Amazing.
Right. Well, I did bring my son with me to the legislature sometime, and there's this photo of us when he was like 8 months. Wait, how old was he? No, he was born in May. So yeah, inauguration, or my second term started, and he was there with me, 7 months old, just sitting on my desk, and now he's all grown. But it was such a privilege, and when I was performing comedy, people, I would say, the problem with politicians is they're so overpaid. And we need to, for my position, you know what we should do? We should say it's $25,000 a year. Get rid, no health care coverage, no benefits, nothing, just $25,000 a year. And the whole audience is like, yeah, that's awesome. And I'm like, cool, I just got a 20% raise. Because we weren't even paid that much. And no health care. So it's
what a time. What a time.
Yes, what a time.
Public service, emphasis on service.
It is service. For 8 years, I basically was doing it for free. And it's hard to have a job or to have a business when you're also doing that. So as a result, most of the people that are serving are retired folks, or wealthy folks who can afford it. So it doesn't have a lot of the equity that we need. So for a lot of young people of color who traditionally don't have as many resources, it's not an option for them to say, I'm not going to work for 8 years and serve in the state. So I was very fortunate that I was able to do that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your service. You've made an impact in your community in Vermont. And now I know that you work with a nonprofit called Emerge that helps women specifically run for office. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so Emerge it's a national organization, and there's a Vermont chapter, and it just coaches and trains Democratic women to run for office and win, and they have a great track record. And the thing about women running for office, I found this when I was first elected, there were 30 new House members, and so uh, we all got together, and all the women would say, "So, who convinced you to run?" And I'm like, "Well, I did." Typical guy response. But the women often have to be asked 2-3 times by different people before they're willing to run, and so it's just a different societal norms for different genders. And obviously there's exceptions to the case, but my experience was that was more than common. That was every single woman I know said that they ran for office after other people urged them to run. And so what I do with the women is I train them on public speaking, which I could do with my eyes closed, but I don't, because you should have your eyes open when you're doing public speaking. And but also the big part of training someone to speak publicly, whether it's doing stand-up comedy or as a politician, or frankly as a CEO or an emerging leader in a business or nonprofit, it's all about confidence. It's all about believing in yourself and feeling like your voice matters. And so just training folks to say, I want you to stand up, and I don't want you to apologize. I don't want you to look at your notes, because you got this. You got this. You can do this. But you have to believe in yourself. And a lot of people say, oh, I can't memorize anything. It's like, well, have you tried? It's like, well, oh, no, I need my notes. It's like, well, try it. Try it a few times, especially if really you just need to have 60 to 90 seconds down, and then you can answer questions if they come up. But people aren't going to listen for longer than that. That's for sure.
Attention spans. I mean, welcome to 2024. What I'm hearing from you is that you're combining so much of your background and your passions together. Your public service with your stand-up comedy background, and in the future that you want to see more Democratic women running for office. And so something so simple but profound as helping people with public speaking is actually even more profound, because what you're saying is that it's actually just about confidence, just believing and stop apologizing for showing up for something. And it sounds like these women are being asked repeatedly to be in this space, and still their instinct is to apologize or to back out. I am getting riled up because this is a big mission of ours as a business, is that we want to see 10,000 women living into this thing that they are called to do. And so we want to equip them with this podcast of helping them brand their business. We want to equip them, whether it's with photo shoots, whether it's with a handwritten note. Sometimes our community needs to rally around people who we know has the stuff to change the community for the better, but oftentimes they need kind people like Jason or kind people like Praise to be in their ear and say, you got this. You don't have to say you can't memorize this thing or not do this thing. We just got to go out and do it. And is there kind of an easy way or an easy practice that you've seen in the people that you've coached to help them finally take that step to start doing their first public speaking, or to just ditch their notes and start improvising on the fly? What is that? Is there a secret to it, Jason?
Well, secret is practice, 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 but it's also, I find it more fun to do it in a group setting, so people can see, oh, I want to be like her, I want to be like him, and I want to speak, with authority on those things. One of the exercises I like to do is to have people say something with confidence that they don't even believe is true. So if they were to come up and say, hi, my name is Margaret and I'm a gardener. So if they can say that, and my name is Jason, I'm not a gardener. I do water our plants, but that's about it. But if they can say something that's not true with confidence, think about how they can say what is true with confidence, because I've seen so many people say something as if it's a question. You know, there's up talk, which is people saying, "Hi, my name is Jason." And I say, "Well, is your name Jason or isn't it?" Because it sounds like you're saying it as a question. And so for just people to get aware of that, and to the best way to exude confidence is to be confident. So if I can work with people on that part and having them feel their own power, that's what's going to make the biggest difference. And part of that is just practice. It's not standing up in front of the mirror, because guess what? You're not going to be standing in front of a mirror when you give your talk. You need to be out in front of people and need to practice with people. You can practice with your family. You can practice with your friends. You could get some coworkers and just to stand around you. But you need that practice so you know what that feels like when you're in your own skin, when you're confident, and then you're creating a muscle memory. So there's a lot of things, but there's no one simple thing, and it's not all about confidence. You also need to figure out how to say things concisely, and where you're looking, eye contact, those sorts of things. So we help them with that too. But I think the most important thing is having confidence.
Confidence is huge. My name is Margaret. I'm a gardener. My name is Margaret. I'm a gardener. Okay, like this is going to work. We love this mantra. We're going to have all our friends, families, and colleagues believe I am Margaret and I'm a gardener. Okay, end podcast. We got it. This is it. This is this stuff. But I hear you. It is that muscle memory. It is really being able to deliver it, which actually is so interesting. As I've studied a little bit of stand-up comedy, of seeing these great comedians put together a whole act. And oftentimes they record the Netflix special after they performed a lot of this material hundreds of times. I want to pick your brain a little bit more about that. Is what are the skill sets from comedy, whether it's knowing your material, that we can apply to being business owners? A lot of our listeners are venturing out of traditional 9-to-5 jobs to start their own businesses. And I know that there are so many skill sets and confidence being built for those who go out on stage being a comedian. But I want to hear from you. What has your background of comedy and owning a business? How have you combined those skills together?
And I would put politics in the same category of making speeches. And I know when what legislators often do is they have a bill and they want other people to sign on to it. And so I go up with a bill and I say, "Hey, would you sign this bill?" And they say, "What's the bill?" And I say, "Oh, it's farm to plate." And they're like, "Great, I know what that is. Perfect." But if I were to say, "Oh, it's a bill that promotes equality and fills the holes in the farming ecosystem," they're like, I don't have time. And then they walk away because people are super busy, especially in the state house. But that's also true when people are like flipping channels um, or checking emails from business owners or what have you. They have a short attention span, and you need to grab them right away. So I found that in politics. I find that in stand-up comedy. It's finding out which part of my joke is the funny part, and then zeroing in on what's the funny word. And if I can end on that word, then it's going to be powerful. And so taking that same idea of what is my concept, and you're a branding expert, right? This is all about branding, and you have one message. And people say, "Well, no, but I have all these different things." It's like, no, you only get one message. And then from that message, like that's your core, like if you're doing Pilates or what have you. And if you don't have a strong core, you're not going to be able to support all the other parts of your body. And so you need that firm, clear message. What is it that you want to say? And then you can expand on it. It's like double click on it and expand it, and you can expand it more and expand it more and expand it more. But you need to have your one sentence pitch, then you need to have your 30-second pitch, and then you can have maybe 2 to 5 minutes. And then beyond that, it's a conversation.
It's that hook. What is that clear hook that people can rely on you from time to time in a world of very short attention
Right.
spans? How can we help our audience understand what we're
Right.
about?
And as Simon Sinek says, it's not about what you do or how you do it, it's why you do something. And so being able to be able to share those values. And with my company, what we do is we facilitate change. We help leaders empower their teams with two fundamental principles. One is that everyone has a magic inside them. And once they can understand and articulate what that core competency is, what that superpower is that they have, the more that they can be successful in transformational ways. The other aspect of change that's critical to know is that no one likes being told what to do. I don't like being told what to do, especially when it's my job. Thank you very much. I think I know what I'm doing. But when a leader realizes, oh, we need to change what we're doing or how we do it, how does that leader get someone else to change when the only person you can change is yourself? And the answer is that the leader sets the vision and direction of the organization and needs to be just really clear. We're not going over here, we're going over here, and specifically right there. Okay, so that's about the punchline. That's about that word. That's about finding that message. And then the leader has the role to step back and empower everyone else to get there. So that all the change that's being made within an organization should be designed by the people who will be responsible for implementing it. If I tell you this is where we're getting, and this is what you need to do, it's like, okay, you hired people ideally because they're smart or talented. So let them figure out how to get to that place. It's the leader's role to articulate where exactly we want to go. And hopefully they do that with buy-in from folks and with ideas, because guess what? They might have different ideas or better ideas. But also so that they feel like they were a part of that. Okay, so now I'm agreeing, yes, that's where we're going. So now I have to figure out how to get there.
And does that relate to the other tenant, the magic that's inside people? Is that part of their magic, is figuring out, I co-signed to this vision, I like where we're going, I got to get scrappy to get there? Or does magic mean something else?
To me, magic is, what are your special talents that you love, that you're really good at, that no one else can do, or that's particularly unique to you? It doesn't have to be you're the only one that does it, but that's what you do. If you say, I am great at spreadsheets, don't ask me to brainstorm, don't ask me to vision. I don't know how to do that, but I can put together an amazing spreadsheet that captures the data or that creates a Gantt chart so that we have a system, we can get there. I'm the doer person, where someone else is like, oh, wow, I can envision all these different things that we could do, but I'm going to be late to every meeting I ever go to. So if that's what's important to you, I'm not your person. And so when they can recognize this is what I bring to the table, then you're going to have a better opportunity to draw on the magic that of all your employees. And the same is true for an organization. If your organization is, oh, we could do all these different things, it's like, yeah, but what are you really good at? Why do people turn to you? There was this this time in the 80s when a lot of businesses would diversify. And one of the most hilarious examples I heard of this was an oil company that bought a cow farm or agriculture business, saying, okay, so if it's cyclical about when the people need our oil, we're going to balance it out with farm animals. And they didn't know anything about that. You have to stick with what you know and then leverage that. Like what's a logical progression and where does everything fit together?
100%, which is what we talk about in branding, of what are the few things you're going to be known for, even though we know that people are multidimensional, incredible, and are capable of so much. Like, maybe they figured out how to be farmers and agriculture eventually. But is that what you want to be known for? And that kind of goes back to our Pilates conversation of what's your core?
Yeah.
What is that hook? What is that key message? And I love that you are re-emphasizing that to do a few things well, find your magic, not the things that you're like kind of good at, but really your zone of genius, and stick to that.
Absolutely. And a lot of people, when they say, okay, so what are the things I'm really good at? I'm good at like 99% of this stuff. There's this 1% that I'm really bad at. Okay, so that's where I'm going to work and try to get that 1% up. Or find a way to not do that 1%. Have someone else do that and do the part that you shine at that fills everyone else's 1% where they can't do that bit. And you can come in effortlessly, say, oh, we'll do it like this. You're like, wow, I would never have thought of that. Like, right, because you're really good at the spreadsheet part, but I'm really good at figuring out how to connect you to other agencies, other departments, so you're not just in your silo, so that they can understand how to use your talents and work that in an organization.
So what is Jason's magic at Aplomb?
My magic is, so I have two core values. One is Tikkun Olam. I like to repair the world. And the other part is a spotlight, that I thrive when I'm on stage, when I'm in front of a group of people. And I used to feel really ashamed of that part of me, because I felt like with my spotlight need and desire that I was saying, look at me, look at me, look at me, which is what I'm doing. But also, there's a lot of people that say, I would never want to do that. You be the person, you facilitate the retreat, you do a keynote, you be that person out front. We're going to be on the back end and we're going to make sure that everything's working. Like, great, because I can never figure out how to set this whole place up, right? Like, so I'm at a studio, and John Toda is in the background, and he's making everything.
Shout out to John.
He's making all this setup work with the podcast. I don't know how to do that, but I do know how to give good interview, hopefully. And so that's my magic that I want to bring to folks. And so when I'm working with an organization, I help them figure out their magic. I help them figure out their vision. And my magic is not being the expert in the room about what they should do. But my magic is bringing people together, having them feel heard, having them feel honored, making sure that their ideas are bubbling up and not like, oh, well, I'm just going to wait for the CEO to tell us what to do. And I tell the CEO, take a step back, let other people step forward. And it's amazing. There's one organization I'm working with, and there's this one guy who never says anything unless you ask him. And when he speaks, people are like, whoa, that was amazing. But I can set the environment so that there's safety in the room, that he feels comfortable. I do a lot of exercises with introverts before they have to share in front of a full group. Because I know, me, I'm an extroverted extrovert. All right. But a lot of people that's not their happy place. That's not their magic. But we need to hear their ideas.
100%. Well, I hear that your magic is helping bring out others' magic, or to put it even further, it sounds like you're a gardener of magic. You're like helping cultivate the ground and the environment to bring this out with people. And that is truly a gift. It's amazing to see people shine in that way, because it truly is not a gift for other people. There's people out there, bless them, they have other gifts, but they might be dowsers, like they put out the candle of others. But if we can bring people like you into the space that can help cultivate that magic, that's really huge. And this re-emphasizes a thought that we often say to the people we coach too, of when you were saying there's 99% of things that you're good at, and sometimes you just focus on the one thing that you're bad at, and you spend so much of your energy doing that. Instead of 5xing the thing that you're good at, you're trying to bring that 1% up to 2. That math doesn't make any sense. And to bring it even further, sometimes we're taking away from an opportunity to help cultivate the magic in someone else, right? If we don't hire the person who loves the spreadsheets because we hate the spreadsheets, what if they need that magic to shine and we're holding it back from them because we want to be everything to everyone too. So I love that is like a reminder. You delegate some things out, help cultivate, bring up the magic for other people.
I love performing improv. I love improv, acting, stand-up comedy, all the stage things. And stand-up comedy is the hardest. But with improv, it's all about saying yes and just embracing it. And so one of the improv games that I like to play with folks is something that a lot of us in America play a lot. 2 truths and a lie. Have you ever played that game? So you say 2 of them are true and 1 of them's a lie. And then everyone has to guess which one is the lie. And so what I do is, I have a big group of people, 10, 20, maybe 30 people. And so we'll just go around the room and everyone else has the job to project confidence. So this goes back to the public speaking training and just say, all I want you to do is just project confidence. So when the person says there are 3 things, I want you to put out a finger, 1, 2, or 3, and just say, number 2 is the lie. But here's the thing. You get 1 point if you guess the thing right. And you get 99 points if you vote with confidence. Right away with utter and total confidence. And so where people trip themselves up is they're trying to go for that 1 point. And the whole purpose of the exercise is to say, oh, number 2 is a lie. And they can do that every single time. Number 2, each time, whether they believe it or not, because it's an exercise. I'm not teaching people to lie. I'm teaching people to project confidence. And so what happens is a lot of people go, 2? And it's like, well, you just lost the 99 points going after that 1 point. And so figuring about what's important to you, in your branding, what's your message? As a leader, what are you trying to convey to people? Is it that you're trying to get them to acknowledge that they messed up on something? Are you trying to get them to learn that you're smarter than them? Or are you trying to build trust? Are you trying to bring out in them for them to figure out, okay, so how did this go well? How could this go better? And then let's move on to something else.
That's huge. That is also a bit of a twist on 2 truths and a lie. Because I definitely thought you were saying, okay, we're helping build up confidence in how they deliver their 2 truths and a lie, but it's really the rest of the audience engaging in like their intuition, just because people's BS meter is actually pretty good and they know it, but then they start doubting it. But you're saying in your game, you're like, no, it's that immediate reaction. How fast can you vote? That is actually what's going to build up your confidence, which we usually end with a game called In and Out. I think we need to end with 2 truths and a lie. And because this is a video podcast, folks that are watching, we can look at your body language, which I think will really help. But I'll be with our audience. Would you be down for this? We're going to do 2 truths and a lie. We're both going to play. So that it's like even. Do you want to go first and then I be the judge, or do you want to switch it up?
Why don't you go first and then I'll try to guess what's your lie.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let me just chew on this. Let me chew on my on my building confidence real quick. Okay. So do I have to put up my numbers?
No,
I'm nervous now. I'm forgetting. Okay. I'm a professional roller coaster rider. I'm allergic to dairy. And I asked David Archuleta out on a date.
Number 1, you're not a professional roller coaster rider.
Okay, you said that with such confidence.
And I somewhat believe it. I don't know who David Archuleta is, but I'm thinking, you did that. But I've never even heard of a professional roller coaster rider, so I don't know what that is.
Well, it's not the point of the game. Well, how about we do this? Well, let's do your Your turn. And then we'll reveal our
Oh,
answers
okay.
at the end once we both go.
Okay. So 2 truths and a lie. So I'm going to try and do this.
Okay.
I don't have anything in mind. I'm just going to see what comes out of me. Okay. All
Improv.
right.
Love it.
My favorite color is purple. I love playing tennis, and my mother's from Wisconsin.
3.
Correct. My mother's from Minnesota.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, my tell is I am a professional roller coaster rider. I'm from Florida. And so I would be in all these ads because they loved my long hair. So I'd be on roller coasters. If you go to Orlando, I'm like randomly on some ads and my hair is just like this
Oh
because
my
they love that
God.
movement. So we would repeat these things like I'd ride a roller coaster 20 times in a row. And I'm like, thank God I like this because this is pretty physically taxing.
Yes.
So, but I'm not allergic to dairy. Thank God. I love me some cheese.
Great.
I'm so glad to get that off my chest though.
Yeah.
It's just like,
It's good to,
yeah,
people need to share that.
to get that out there. I definitely thought you were going to say, my name is Margaret. I'm a gardener. Like I
That
really
would've been
thought
it. That would have been good.
that would have been it. Well, for our listeners, I hope they played that game along with us, but I will do something else in closing for our listeners. A lot of them are 1 to 2 years into their business. That's why they're thinking about, okay, branding, getting clear on our message, really getting focused. And it seems like you have really found your groove with public service, with comedy, and with Aplomb Consulting. What advice would you give to our listeners who are 1 to 2 years into business to help them have a thriving journey?
Well, I would say find your magic and give yourself some time to really think about what you want to accomplish. And for me, what I'll do is I have a strategic plan for my business, and it's like a six-page PowerPoint slide that I don't share with anyone. It's just what I do for myself. And there's one slide that I have that's the key slide, which is how do I generate more clients in terms of meaningful work, because I care not just about being profitable, but also about making a difference. And I look at that like once a month, more or less. But then once a year, I will go off and I will have a retreat by myself. And I'll go out for sometimes half a day, sometimes 24 hours with a sleepover. I'll just go to a hotel somewhere and just clear my mind and really think about the future. And I think that a lot of leaders often don't, and emerging leaders, and this is for anyone really who wants to be intentional about what they want out of their life, out of their career, out of their personal relationships, whatever it is, and just say, yeah, we do the New Year's resolution thing sometimes, but to say, no, really think about this and what would bring meaning to your life.
That's huge. That's a good word. We don't want people just to build businesses, but build a life and a meaningful life. So I feel like that advice of, again, being a great leader, casting vision for yourself, finding that magic will go a long way for our listeners. Thank you so much for being generous with your wisdom, with your time, and with your zingers, Jason. We really appreciate it.
You're awesome. That was so much fun.